Hi, I'm Steve Cordoni and I'm here with ArchiPro Australia for episode 3 of Let's Talk Interiors. Today, I'm so excited to interview a friend of mine and multi-hyphenate creative stylist and designer, Kate Nixon. How are you? First time in this space.
Welcome,
It's
yay.
honestly beyond and beautiful.
Thank you so much. We're really honoured to have you here.
So how do you start your project and what's the first sort of starting point that you work on with your client?
I think we do very much start from inspiration images because I find that's the quickest way to get on the same page with the client. And we do talk about the initial consultation and we come back to them with some images and references and say, this is kind of us interpreting, it's such a visual language what we do. When you say pink, I might see purple. So we just want to get it on the page, make sure we're on the same page and we understand. And very quickly you can tell us, I really like that, I don't like that. Yeah. And we find we can really get to the heart of the brief that way.
So where do you get your inspiration from?
I do read a lot, books as in written text as much as visual, but I do think history and design and fashion and travel and all the usual suspects, but particularly delving back through historical kind of references and trying to find ways to bring them through into the next century.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see that with the space, like just all the uncovering of these amazing architectural elements. It brings so much into the space.
I think the styling is very much, I think, what sets us apart as a studio as well, because we're always about the final flourish. It always amazes me how impressive that is for the client when we've toiled for 3 years over drawings and details and materials, and then we bring in a big branch of foliage and they think we're amazing because it really does transform the space. So I think we do bring kind of all those styling elements through the projects and also that continuity of a palette, because we've been trained, I feel like I've been trained to look at a storyboard and understand the flow of a house from start to finish over 8 pages, and I really consider that in the way we design spaces.
So when you're working obviously within your design practice, you've got your own tools and digital tools I think now is quite a big part of the world. What role does digital platforms play in your practice?
It does play a really big role, more and more so. It's very much creating a mood board in a way that visually communicates your concept and your brief, and we talked about how our industry is so visual. I think that's the visual language, and the digital platforms just give us kind of access to do that in such an easy way to communicate with the clients and show a colour, show a material, show a design detail, and kind of collaborating with the team as well. I think we're finding a lot of efficiencies in that process, and also always trying to improve the customer experience, and ultimately, does this serve the client? How are we delighting our customers, and trying to do that better every day.
How do you craft, I guess, your vision, but also take your client along the journey with you?
So we do start with a lot of visual reference imagery because we find that just helps us very succinctly get to the point of what they like and what they don't like. We do use a lot of words as well as a way of articulating a feeling and describing a space, and it gives a really clear picture right off the bat, and it really helps us refine that initial vision quickly with them to see what they like, what they don't like, and how we can get there.
How do you define your style?
We have a bit of a catchphrase that we use, and I just started using it more and more and all the times, in that it's classic and comfortable, it's polished and practical, and it's equally at ease with everyday living and elegant entertaining. So it's really about a feeling and a philosophy, I think, more than an aesthetic, even though I think you can draw a thread through all studios. I think there is a look and feel ultimately, and that's what's so nice about our industry, I think, is there's something for everybody, and design is so subjective. Competitors aren't really our competitors, they're our colleagues and our friends.
Absolutely. And so in terms of sort of proportion and scale of pieces that they're choosing, they see things online or on the website, do you think go bigger so it feels more proportionate and balanced, or smaller within scale? So I think that's quite a tricky one for people to navigate.
Going big does make it more impressive, and I think that sounds counterintuitive. Sometimes people think they need to get small things, but I actually disagree. And I also think using your vertical spaces as much as your horizontal spaces, thinking about your walls and your ceilings and how you can draw the eye up, and so kind of makes the space borrow space from outside.
What context and insight does engage an interior designer bring to a project?
I think engaging interior designer might seem like a luxury, but I feel like actually ultimately it's going to save you time and money because this is what we do every day. And you're tapping into such a wealth of knowledge and contacts and experience, and we've made the mistakes before so that you don't have to make them again.
Coming from a magazine background, I know trends is something that you have to portray and help people sort of through what's coming out of overseas and locally. What do you see is the next sort of shift in trends moving forward?
Try to really make our interiors as timeless as we can. But yes, it's inevitable, and yeah, I think it's just keeping up with the world and what's happening around us, and very much this work from home has impacted people's perception of home and what they want from their home. So I think the kind of workspace and the flexible living, I do think colour is coming back. I think we've had a lot of stucco and polished plaster and that kind of neutral Mediterranean vibe, but I think looking over the pond there is a lot of colour coming back, which is nice.
And I feel like that's part of what we're seeing within the world, right? We've sort of been very doomy and gloomy in terms of a society, and now I think that sort of fun, that sort of freedom is sort of coming back, and colour is a great way to do that. And you can feel that when you walk into your studio space and store, and all those little details, you can see definitely that feeling, that emotion and the personality and the soul of you and your practice. And I can see that working over into other people's dream spaces. So for me, I can see your ethos and your design aesthetic and that soul come through in this space and your work. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, Steve. Thanks for coming.